Well, that was a mess of a first half between the Saints and Bears. What's up, guys? Welcome into a halftime edition of the Straight Up Saints podcast. I'm your host, Chris Vogel. As always, the Straight Up Saints podcast is brought to you by Scott McNair Injury Lawyers. Let's get into this half. I mean, I was ready to come in here, guns blazing, screaming and yelling. I'll probably still scream and yell about a couple of things. You guys know I like to complain. But Saints finished the half on a very strong note. Two really good throws from Rattler to Chris Olave, who is over 80 yards receiving. Pretty much all of it came on that one drive. Saints are going to get the ball to start the second half, so you'd like to think that that positive momentum will maybe carry over into the third quarter, and if it does and they have a good drive, who knows? Maybe this ends up being a game. But for now, Saints are down 2 possessions, and there's so many things to be frustrated about. Let's kind of go through them, and then as always, I'll turn it over to you guys. So if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to come over here, give the video a like, and also drop in your thoughts so we could share them on the screen here. Let's start off with the defense. They came out really, really strong, forcing a quick 3 and out. Then Rattler has a careless turnover, holding the ball with one hand, ends up getting stripped. You put the defense back out on the field in a tough spot. They hold the Bears to 3. I consider that a win. But look, the offense has been abysmal so far. Defensively, Chase Young, I think, has been really good. Waiting for him to have that sack, though. And I think Caleb Williams, he's a little erratic. I believe if the Saints can keep this close, Caleb Williams is going to make a crucial mistake. He's been way, way too crazy right now with trying to extend plays instead of just living to see another down. Got to make this game a one-possession game to really take advantage of Caleb's carelessness. But Chase Young's been great. Quincy Riley had his first pick. He's been tremendous so far today. The defense has been fine. I know you're going to see 20 points on the board and be like, man, how can you say the defense is fine? The offense has put them in miserable spots. And prior to this final drive, which kudos to Spencer Rattler and Chris Olave to go down the field and make the plays they did and make this miserable first half not seem as bad and give yourself some life going into the third quarter. But outside of that, Rattler has struggled. Kendre Miller gets hurt, which is just brutal and quite ironic considering you're going up against Dennis Allen. And then, just looking sloppy, looking out of sync. It just doesn't seem like they're on the same page, and that's been apparent. And then the one thing that really just drives me up a wall is the Saints are down 20. You're playing like crap, and Juwan Johnson is fucking flexing after making a 5-yard reception that didn't even get a first down. Like, look at this absolute clown on the sideline, just flexing to the Bears. I can't take watching this guy. And funny enough, he had a crucial drop on the last drive. The Saints end up scoring anyway, but he had a bad drop there. So offense has been a train wreck. The quarterback is having, you take away that last drive, this has been Rattler's arguably worst performance since last year by far. He's been really uncomfortable to watch. The run game isn't there. It is tough. Special teams have been a train wreck too. Punting, Blake Grupe he's got 6 missed field goals this year. And this is my last thought before I turn it over to the comments. Blake Grupe's got 6 missed field goals this season. He had 4 all of last year. He's got 6 this season. So he's been fucking abysmal. Juwan's garbage. Rattler's been terrible. And Dennis Allen's winning the chess match between him and Kellen Moore, which sucks to say. Let's get into comments here. Leroy with the super chat says Juwan Johnson versus Grass. Grass wins 100%. Yeah. Because Juwan Johnson's something that rhymes with grass. Seriously, he is fucking brutal to watch. I probably think he's my least favorite Saint in a long time. And, the Saints stuck with him for another 2 seasons, gave him a 3-year, $30+ million contract, but God, he is a train wreck to watch. Fred says, still 7 minutes left for one of the worst halves of offensive football in the history of ever make it stop. Luckily for you, Fred, it kind of did. Kind of did towards the end, which is good. Blair says, Rattler was beyond terrible. O-line can't get a push. More trash game plan. This organization is broke. Yeah, look, I know this comment came in right before the last drive of the first half, but your point's not wrong. Rattler was god-awful before that final drive. Offensive line was getting just destroyed. And in terms of game plan, tell me not. This feels very similar to that. Take out the last drive of the half. This felt very similar to Seattle. And luckily for the Saints, the Bears are not nearly as good as the Seahawks, where it felt like this game could have been just out, done and out by the first quarter. Luckily for the Saints, it wasn't, because the Bears, in my opinion, aren't on Seattle's level of being able to put away their opponents like that. So it's still somewhat a game, but it could have been over quick. It felt very similar to that Seattle game. Cajun Curveball with the Super Chat says, have you seen the Juwan Al-Qaeda edits? Fire him. I've seen some of them. I don't particularly enjoy looking at those edits, but I have seen some of them. Where is Taysom? Where is Miller? So Kendre Miller got hurt, And Taysom Hill, I hate to say it, as someone who absolutely loves Taysom Hill, I don't even want to say he lost a step. I think he's lost 5. And it sucks to say. Jediah says Olave's damn good. Need to keep him for a long-term guy. Clearly knew what he needed to fix and is doing it. Cut Juwan. He's better off making TikToks. Yeah, I think, look, when Olave comes into the week and talks about how he's got to be accountable and he's got to make plays and the ball hits his hands, it's got to be a catch. And then, the Saints offense has been a train wreck in the first half. And the only saving grace is that Olave's done his job and he's got 80+ yards and a touchdown already. You got to tip your cap and say, hey, he's putting his money where his mouth is. Leroy says, at the super chat at this point, put Chris in at tight end. I'd get fucking blasted, man. I'd get blasted. But I'll drop the football for $1. $1 a game as opposed to this guy who's getting paid $10 million plus. So, no, it's really tough with Juwan. At this point, I don't want to say I can live with the drops, but the drops are as expected. To see him flexing on the sideline when this team is down is so freaking ridiculous. TJB with the super chat says, it's crazy to say we still have a chance. It is. And I think that goes back to what I was saying before. The Seattle game was over by like the end of the first quarter, but Seattle's also better, right? Their quarterback's been playing better. Their defense has been a little bit more consistent. And I think Chicago right now, they were up 20-0. Loose, really, really loose series for the defense to end the half. And I'm telling you, man, Caleb Williams, this is not a knock on him as a talent. He's a very talented quarterback. He is all over the fucking place. I know it's fun to say, watch me play hero ball, and all the shit that he's doing, he had success with at USC, had success with at Oklahoma. This dude is running, in terms of his brain, it's going 100 miles an hour at once, and just got to slow down a little bit. Luckily for the Saints, I think he's probably bound to have at least another turnover in this game. And just look at the numbers, too. If the Bears win this game and they're on track to do so, it won't be because of their quarterback. He's 8 of 17 with 97 yards and a pick. So, I think I don't think it sounds crazy to say they have a chance, but the Saints do. This first drive coming out for the second half is really going to tell the difference. D23 says, I really want to know what Kamara was thinking on those back-to-back plays where he gave zero effort. I love what he's done for us, but he should have been traded without being asked. Yeah, look, I'm going to wait to see how this second half plays out, especially now that the Saints showed a little bit of fight at the end to make this somewhat of a game. But I really hate the effort that Alvin's had today. And pass protection from him has been a freaking joke. He looks like he don't want to be there. And I love Alvin. He's one of my favorite Saints. But when you start making comments about, if I'm traded, I'll just go sip pina coladas elsewhere. You're sipping pina coladas right now, Alvin. I mean, what the fuck are you doing? 6 carries for 11 yards, 3 receptions for 1 yard. Granted, Rattler's kind of just throwing him a live grenade over the middle of the field and hoping for the best, but he hasn't been great. Leroy with another super chat says, only one man could save the Saints, a.k.a. Uncle Rico. I don't think Uncle Rico could save the Saints either, though, to be quite honest. Jerry G with the chat says, at least they scored before halftime. Yeah, thank God, Jerry, because this was about to be one of the most miserable halves of football I've ever seen. I have Traquan Smith level hatred for Juwan Johnson. Maybe wrong of me to say, I kind of used to like Traquan Smith. I have never, ever disliked him to this level when it comes to Juwan. Juwan, I can't stand. Spencer getting Kamara killed. Yeah, I mean, he threw him a legitimate hospital ball at one point. Chris, I can't decide who I despise more between Juwan and Brian Kelly. Care to help me decide? Regardless, bench Juwan and give Foster a chance. Clearly, he's a TikToker first and football second. I mean, probably Brian Kelly, right? Because he's a head coach. I mean, I can't stand Juwan, but the Saints can bench Juwan. The LSU can't. I mean, they could fire Brian Kelly. But obviously, with the whole buyout and all that, I don't know if they will. But I'd probably still go Brian Kelly. But Juwan is fucking annoying, man. Really, really is annoying. It's so aggravating watching him. Trey Gift saying, really wanted Miller to have a game today and drag his nuts on DA's bitch ass. Oh, well, that's not going to happen. Got hurt early, which is quite funny because, you thought about this revenge game. I thought about this revenge game. Dennis Allen was frustrated with Kendra Miller because he couldn't stay healthy. And Kendra Miller goes and gets hurt really early in today's game. On a positive note, liking the future of our secondary, Riley, Sanker, Kool-Aid, and Alante. Secondary's made plays today. I think the defense has been good. you know, outside of a couple of plays here in the run game where they just kind of get them blown off the ball, I think the defense has been really good for the Saints. Unfortunately, this offense has put them in really tough spots. But the defense has been fine, good enough, I'd say. If they can kind of get back to what they were doing in the first quarter, they'll be able to make this game, hopefully. Paul says Juwan Johnson's getting paid. He doesn't care. I also think he's just not that good. You know, like I just saw, where is this one? Jake says Juwan Johnson, Jared Cook 2.0. I'll always have, like, you know, despise Jared Cook for those fumbles against the Bucs. And TJB just put in here on a super chat. Thank you for the support, TJB. If you had to take one, Juwan Johnson or Jared Cook, I'm taking Jared Cook. I think Jared Cook was a better player. Like, I'm just going to pull up Jared Cook's numbers real quick. I know he had Drew Brees throwing in football, so it's a little bit different. But Jared Cook, in his seasons with the Saints, he had 705 yards and 9 touchdowns, and then 504 yards and 7 touchdowns. 504 yards and 7 touchdowns is like a career year for Juwan. For Jared Cook, it was like whatever type of year, you know? Braden with the super chat. Thank you for the support. Braden says, if we somehow pull off a win, it's 100% coaching. Yeah, it could be, yeah. Look, if they pull off a win, and we'll be here to discuss it, we'll have our post-game live stream regardless. If they were able to get a win in this one, you know, the players are going to have to step up too, so it'd probably be a full effort. We'll see. Cajun Curveball says, we're not going to talk about Kamara, poor pass protection on Rat. No, I said it before. Thank you for the support, by the way. I said it before. His pass pro reps have been abysmal. Devin Neal had the best pass pro rep from a running back so far this season, maybe. And X just put it in here, the super chat. Shout out to Devin Neal for that block. Yeah, Devin Neal had the best pass protection rep so far. I've said it before. This is a problem with Kendra Miller getting hurt in this game. AK's effort's been fucking piss poor. And we'll see in this second half, because I'd imagine the Saints are going to want to establish the run out the gates in this second half, take some pressure off Rattler, kind of ease him back into this game, especially after playing well at the end of the second quarter. You're going to have to lean on AK, though, and he can't be, you know, kind of toting around being lazy out there, which is what he was in the first half, if we're going to be pretty honest with each other. Miss Panenko saying manifesting the annual DA collapse. Hopefully that's the case. I'd love that. HovC735 says, Chris, what are we going to do about Groupie Man? They got to cut him. They have to cut him on Monday. The fact that there's not even competition is ridiculous. But like I said, he's got 6 missed field goals this year. 3 from the 50-yard range, 2 from the 40 to 49-yard range, and then 1 from the 30 to 39-yard range. You got to make a kicking change. They've, you know, he had a good week last week, and then he goes right back to the shit this week. And by the way, if he makes that kick, it's 20-10. You know what? I know that might not change people's perceptions, but can't leave points on the board. Sci-Fi X saying Chase Young playing hard. He's been great so far. I really believe so. Wesley says Stutzman's been on the field a lot today. Love to see it. That 2025 draft class, with or without Tyler Shuck, is doing its job, which is great to see. Now, it's all about whether or not they could start to get more of these guys acclimated. I think Stutzman's role is going to continue to build. You know, I think that's going to keep going up. D23 says, I want to like Kellen, but I feel like he has no backbone to make the tough decisions. We're going to see. If he doesn't end up going out there and, you know, getting rid of Groupie this upcoming week, assuming that Groupie's, you know, because I kind of think he's going to miss another kick at this rate, you got to make a change, you know, especially because they're probably at this rate going to end up losing this game. No excuse. I know Groupie, they kind of gave some passes because, when you miss a kick against a team like Seattle, you got blown out anyway. Can't be leaving points on the board because I think this game could maybe get close in the second half. So I'd like to see him make a change. And you're right, though. It will be a tough decision for him to make. Dennis Allen, Evan Jackson making plays against us is just another slap in the face. Just DA kind of doing what he's doing is a slap in the face anyway, but I kind of expected it. DA is a very, very, very good defensive coordinator. Head coach, not so much. Defense coordinator, he's great at it. Anyway, guys, second half has just started, so make sure to come back to our YouTube page here at Boot Crew Media for our post-game live stream. Hopefully we'll get to talk about a comeback win. I don't have my hopes up yet, but we'll see what happens. So thank you guys for tuning in, and come back later for our post-game live stream on the Straight Up Saints podcast, the destination for the Who Dat Nation.